This raw footage never aired. Jungkook kisses the back of Jimin's hand. Editor Cries, seeing it movie loudly. Don't say anything, just listen. The whisper cut through the darkness of the editing suite, layered over the soft static of untouched footage. The editor froze, fingers suspended above the keyboard as the timestamp blinked. 01:43:17 unreleased raw cam, backstage Osaka Dome. Jungkook's voice wasn't loud. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't meant to be heard by the world. But there it was, raw, trembling, intimate. The scene had no stage lights, no screaming fans, just a narrow corridor lit by flickering fluorescence. Jimin leaned against the wall, shoulders tense beneath the oversized jacket hanging loose around him. Rain tapped against the far window, a soft percussion beneath Jungkook's breath. The camera, unattended, caught everything, like a ghost with perfect timing. I thought I could stay quiet, Jungkook said, stepping closer, the soles of his boots soundless against the vinyl floor. I tried. Jimin didn't speak. His eyes flicked to the side, catching Jungkook's gaze for a heartbeat before retreating. You're scared, Jungkook said. So am I. The editor blinked, disoriented. This wasn't in any script, not in the brief, not in the tour documentary plans. She reached instinctively to pause, but her hand faltered. Something told her not to move. Something sacred was happening here. Jungkook lifted Jimin's hand with both of his, slow and reverent, as if it were something fragile, ancient. His fingers brushed over Jimin's knuckles, each touch deliberate. Then, with a silence heavy as snowfall, he brought the back of Jimin's hand to his lips. 1 second, 2, a moment in time neither of them moved. The editor covered her mouth with trembling fingers. The footage continued. Jimin exhaled shakily, eyes closed, head tilted back against the cold wall. When he finally opened his mouth, his voice barely emerged. You always do this, he said. Make it harder to pretend. Outside the corridor, footsteps passed, distant, unaware. The world kept moving. But in that pocket of quiet, something shifted. Something unspeakable bloomed and died and bloomed again. The screen faded to black for a split second as the camera adjusted. When the image returned, Jimin had taken a step forward, closing the already narrow space. Their foreheads touched. I wasn't pretending, Jungkook whispered. Not for a second. The editor pulled away from the screen like it had burned her. Tears blurred her vision, unwelcome and sudden. She pressed the pause key at last. Silence. All she could hear now was her own heartbeat, and the rush of emotion that came with witnessing something not meant for her eyes. She stared at the still frame, Jungkook's eyes closed, lips still near Jimin's skin, hands shaking just slightly. The file name in the corner read, JPN Dome BTS Raw Cam 43 Mauve. No tags, no filters, no angles, just truth. She leaned back in her chair and whispered into the emptiness. Why the hell didn't anyone air this? In the distance, another editing bay clicked on. Outside the studio window, Tokyo's skyline stretched endless and indifferent. But in that room, time was stitched to a quiet miracle, a hidden chapter in the story of two boys who had learned how to lie beautifully for cameras, but forgot to lie to each other when no one was watching. And the editor, just a stranger with a job, was now the unwilling keeper of something heartbreakingly real. She hit play again, not to cut, not to censor, but to remember. Delete it. No. I said delete it, Minji. The demand cracked through the editing suite like a whip. Manager Seojun stood by the door, his face stiff, eyes locked on the frozen frame still glowing on Minji's monitor. She didn't flinch. Her thumb hovered over the keyboard, but not on delete. Her finger pressed play. You think they'll survive this? He said, stepping forward. Do you have any idea what this would do? I do, Minji said quietly, but I also know what it would mean to hide it. Back on screen, Jimin was breathing hard, his chest rising and falling, his voice cracking open like glass under pressure. Do you even know what they'd say if they saw us like this? He hissed. Do you? I don't care anymore, Jungkook replied, voice gravel thick. Let them see, let them break their illusions. Jimin turned away, but Jungkook grabbed his wrist. Not roughly, but firmly, with the desperation of someone on the edge of losing something irreplaceable. You've said you didn't want to pretend. Then don't, Jungkook said. Not with me. Jimin closed his eyes. The silence was deafening. Somewhere outside, a burst of laughter echoed from a dressing room. Normalcy, the facade, the mask they wore so perfectly on stage. But here was the raw cut. No polish, no angle correction, no PR-approved narrative. Minji paused the footage again. Her breath caught. Don't make me report this, Seojun said, low and cold. You're an editor, not a crusader. If this gets out, it could burn everything. Minji turned to him. Then maybe some things deserve to burn. The door slammed behind him. Back on the screen, the next timestamp rolled in. The angle shifted. The camera had moved just slightly as if someone else had been there. A breath, a cough, someone behind the lens. Jimin looked directly into the camera. His eyes were red, his lips trembled, but he didn't look away. You're going to cut this, aren't you? He asked the unseen figure. You're going to pretend this never happened. Then came the part Minji hadn't seen before, an audio glitch previously hidden under corrupted metadata. She enhanced it, cleaned it. A female voice whispered, I'm not sure I can. Minji's spine stiffened. It was hers. It was her voice, recorded over a year ago. She hadn't remembered being in Osaka that day, let alone near that corridor. But the audio didn't lie. Her fingers trembled as she scanned forward. Something changed in the air. The frame shook. Someone bumped the camera deliberately, and then darkness. Cut to black. And then static. And then an entirely different room. Hotel lighting, cold and clinical. Jimin sat on the edge of the bed, fingers tangled in his hair. Jungkook stood across from him, packing. We can't, Jimin said, voice raw. We can't keep doing this. We're not doing anything, Jungkook snapped. That's the problem. You think I'm not wrecked too, Jimin shouted, standing. You think I don't wake up in sweat thinking someone's going to leak a photo, that the company's going to pull me in again, that my mother going to call crying because someone said Because someone said you're in love, Jungkook's voice was a blade. Because someone saw the truth. Jimin's hands dropped. His entire body deflated, like air rushing from a balloon. I am in love, he whispered. God help me, I am. Jungkook walked toward him slowly. Then stop punishing me for it. He cupped Jimin's cheek. No kiss, no dramatic embrace, just a single thumb brushing beneath Jimin's eye. You're not broken for feeling this, Jungkook said. You're broken for pretending you don't. Minji's breath was ragged now. She felt like a trespasser. She was watching history they never meant anyone to see, but it was too late. The file had opened itself like a wound. And then, the room within the footage twisted. There was a knock at the hotel door, urgent, rhythmic. Both men froze. Jungkook reached for the remote, but Jimin grabbed his wrist, his eyes wild with fear. They know, he said. Someone knows. Jungkook opened the door. It was Namjoon. And the look on his face wasn't anger. It wasn't surprise. It was sorrow. They're pulling the footage, Namjoon said. You've got 5 minutes. After that, it's not yours anymore. Jungkook stared at him. You knew. I've always known. Behind him, the hallway buzzed with security chatter. Namjoon stepped aside. Run, he said. Minji gasped. The screen froze again, frame locked on Jimin grabbing Jungkook's hand as they bolted out of the suite, hoodie over Jimin's bleached hair, backpack slung over Jungkook's shoulder. Minji's hard drive spun up, whirring and ticking like a heart waking from a coma. She backed up the footage to an external disk, labeled it, do not erase, ever. And just as she did, the company's internal server began wiping folders one by one. A silent purge. Files vanished before her eyes. But this one she saved. Because some truths don't die quietly. They survive, in whispers, in stolen frames, in the echo of a kiss never meant for broadcast. The file finished copying with a soft chime that sounded obscenely gentle for what it contained. Minji didn't smile. She stared at the progress bar like it might accuse her of treason. Outside her booth, voices rose, sharp, official, the kind that didn't ask questions. She pulled the drive free and slid it into her bag just as the door flew open. Step away from the terminal. 3 men in black jackets stood there, company badges hanging like tiny knives around their necks. One of them glanced at her screen and frowned at the empty folder list. "You were editing Osaka Dome, weren't you?" he asked. Minji swallowed. "I finished. There was nothing usable." He leaned in too close. She smelled cologne layered over stale coffee. Funny, because the system flagged an irregular backup. Her heart slammed against her ribs, but her voice stayed level. "Maybe your system is broken." For a second, she thought he might grab her, but he didn't. He only smiled, slow and thin. "We'll see about that." They left, too easily. Minji didn't breathe until the door clicked shut behind them. Then she sagged into her chair, eyes burning, fingers digging into her palms. She didn't know why she was doing this anymore. Loyalty, curiosity, or the simple, unbearable weight of watching 2 people suffocate in silence. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Minji," a voice said, soft, familiar. "It's me." Her throat tightened. "Jimin." "I don't have much time," he whispered. There was wind on the line, traffic, the distant honk of horns. "They're moving everything tonight. Servers, drives, backups. They think the leak is internal." "It is," Minji said, "and I have it." Silence, then a shaky exhale. "You saw everything." "Yes." Another pause, longer this time. "Did he look stupid?" Jimin asked. Minji almost laughed, but it broke in her chest instead. "He looked in love." The sound Jimin made wasn't quite a sob, not quite a laugh. "He hates when I say that." Footsteps echoed near him. He lowered his voice. "They're watching me, Minji, every move. They separated our schedules, different hotels, different floors." "They can't separate your memory," she said. "They already did," Jimin whispered. "They made me deny it in writing. They said it was for my own good." Minji's fingers curled around the strap of her bag. "What do you want me to do?" A car door slammed in the background. "Whatever you think is right," he said. "But if this comes out, it won't just be about us." Before she could answer, the call ended. That night, she watched the next sequence alone in her apartment. Curtains drawn, lights off, laptop glowing like a forbidden altar. The footage opened in a rehearsal room. Jungkook was punching a mirror, not hard enough to break it, but hard enough to hurt. "Stop lying to me," he said to his reflection. "You're not okay." Jimin sat on the floor behind him, knees pulled to his chest. "You don't understand. They threatened to cut my family's contract, my father's clinic, my brother's scholarship." Jungkook turned, eyes wild. "Then we go public, we burn the whole damn thing." "And then what?" Jimin shot back. "We become a headline, a warning." Jungkook knelt in front of him. "We become real." Jimin laughed bitterly. "You think reality is kinder than silence." Jungkook grabbed his face, thumbs pressing into his cheeks. "I don't care if it's kinder. I care that it's honest." Jimin's breath stuttered. "You say that now, but when they tear us apart, when the fans turn, when the contracts disappear, don't you dare look at me and say you didn't see it coming." "I'll look at you and say I'd still choose you." The kiss that followed wasn't soft like the one in the corridor. It was angry, desperate. 2 people trying to fuse themselves together before the world could wedge a blade between them. Minji closed her laptop, shaking. Her phone lit up again. This time, it was Jungkook. "They moved him," he said without greeting. His voice was hoarse. "They won't tell me where." Minji stood. "Do you trust me?" "Yes." "Then don't hang up." She grabbed her keys, her bag, the drive. She didn't know where she was going yet. Only that standing still was no longer an option. As she rushed down the stairwell, Jungkook whispered into her ear, "If this disappears, if I disappear, promise me one thing." "What?" "Don't let them edit us into nothing." The train station pulsed with noise, crowds surging, announcements blaring, phones ringing, wheels rolling over tile like thunder. Minji moved through the chaos with a single purpose, the hard drive tucked in her coat pocket like contraband. Jungkook was waiting near the far platform, hood low over his face, mask up, sunglasses shielding the unmistakable. He looked up when he saw her. She had never seen him like that before, not on stage, not in glossy interviews, not even in the raw footage she had become addicted to watching. There was no shine to him now, just a fire that had nothing left to burn but everything to lose. "You have it," he asked. She nodded and handed it to him without a word. He didn't thank her, just clutched the drive like a lifeline, fingers trembling as he shoved it deep into his backpack. Then he looked at her again, really looked. "What did you see?" he asked. Minji hesitated. Then, with brutal honesty, "I saw a man begging the person he loved not to disappear, and I saw him disappear anyway." Jungkook swallowed hard. "Do you know where they took him?" "No," she said, "but I know who does." He followed her without another word, weaving through the crowd like ghosts. The car ride was tense, silence taut like a wire stretched over flame. Minji didn't dare play music. Every word left unsaid pressed against the windows, against their chests. She pulled up in front of a nondescript gray building, the kind designed to look forgettable. No signage, no windows on the upper floor, just a keypad entry and a single blinking red camera. "He's in there?" Jungkook asked, voice tight. "No," Minji said, "but his manager is. And if anyone has the real schedule, the real location, it's her." Jungkook stepped out of the car before she finished speaking. Minji grabbed his arm. "Don't go in there angry," she warned. He looked back at her, mask lowered, jaw clenched. "I'm not angry," he said. "I'm done." Inside, the air was sterile, cold, almost cinematic in its cruelty. Fluorescent lights painted everything in a sickly blue. At the front desk, the receptionist barely glanced up until Jungkook dropped his hood. Her eyes widened. She stood immediately. "You can't be here," she whispered. "This isn't." "Where is she?" he said. "She's in a meeting. Mr. Jeon, if you don't leave right now." "She'll want to see me." Jungkook didn't wait for permission. He walked down the hall, past frosted glass doors and whispered arguments, until he reached the office marked Strategic Coordination. He didn't knock. The woman behind the desk didn't look up immediately. She was scribbling something on a tablet, headphones in. He stepped forward and said her name. Yuna looked up and went completely still. She pulled out one earbud. "You're going to ruin everything." "Tell me where he is." "No." "Yuna," he said, leaning forward, eyes burning. "I don't care about the consequences anymore." "Well, I do," she snapped. "You think this is about just you and him. You think this doesn't ripple out into everyone's contracts, everyone's families." Jungkook's voice dropped, dangerously quiet. "I think you're using that as an excuse to keep us silent. I think you're terrified of what happens when the truth is louder than the lie." Yuna stood. "He begged me to protect him." Jungkook stepped closer. "Then give me the chance to do the same." Yuna's eyes flicked to the hallway. She closed the blinds, locked the door. Then she opened a folder from the drawer and slid a single page across the desk. It was Jimin's revised schedule. "Kyoto," she said. "Studio residency under a dummy production name. No visitors, no contact. NDA level 10. Jungkook picked up the paper with shaking hands. "Why?" "Because he cracked," she said softly. "After you kissed him in that corridor, he stopped pretending. They noticed." Jungkook blinked back tears. "He told me to run." "And he stayed," Yuna said. Minji waited in the car for 40 minutes. When Jungkook returned, he didn't speak. He only handed her the paper, and then he said, "I'm getting him out." The next night in Kyoto, Jungkook disguised himself as a delivery assistant. It was laughably flimsy, a hoodie, a box, a fake ID, but somehow it worked. The guards didn't check. Maybe they were tired. Maybe they didn't care. Maybe the universe had had enough of silence. He walked into the studio and found Jimin in a soundproof booth, headphones on, eyes closed, singing something soft and tragic. His voice trembled like a paper kite caught in a storm. When he saw Jungkook through the glass, he froze. Jungkook opened the door. They stared at each other for a long time. And then Jimin said, "You're insane." Jungkook smiled. "You're welcome." Jimin's laugh cracked in half. He walked forward, stopped an inch from Jungkook's chest. "You can't fix this." "I don't care," Jungkook said. "I'm here to break it." Jimin pressed his forehead to Jungkook's. "They'll blacklist us. Then we'll build our own stage. They'll erase us. Then we'll write it back in blood." Outside the booth, footsteps pounded closer. They didn't flinch. Not this time. The door burst open with a metallic slam, 3 security officers storming in like they'd been waiting for this moment for months. Jimin stepped protectively in front of Jungkook, a hand outstretched, voice firm even though it trembled. "You don't touch him." The head guard, a square-jawed man with a clipboard and dead eyes, didn't even blink. "Mr. Park, this facility is under contract with HYBE Japan. Your current presence here is under supervision. Mr. Jeon is not authorized." "I authorized it," Jimin interrupted. "You don't have the authority to do that," the man snapped. "I am the content," Jimin said coldly. "Without me, there is no album, no documentary, no content for you to market. So unless you want to explain to the board why I walked out mid-project, I suggest you shut that door and pretend you didn't see anything." The tension crackled. One of the younger guards looked uncertain, shifting from foot to foot. Jungkook stepped forward. "You can arrest me, or you can leave. But either way, he's not staying in this place another night." The clipboard guard stared them down, jaw twitching, fingers flexing over the radio clipped to his vest. Then he turned around and walked out without another word. The others followed. The silence left behind was electric. Jimin leaned against the wall the moment they were gone, breathing hard, knuckles white around the headphone cable still clutched in his hand. "That was reckless," he said. Jungkook's voice was quiet, but it worked. Jimin looked up, eyes glistening. "You came for me." "I never left you," Jungkook said. "They just tried to make you forget." Back in Seoul, the press had begun to hum. Nothing concrete, just whispers, shadows on Twitter threads and blind items on gossip forums. Rumors of footage gone missing. Talk of strange edits in upcoming BTS content. A few diehard fans began compiling timestamps of scenes where Jungkook and Jimin used to be in the same frame and were now suspiciously absent. Minji watched it unfold from her apartment, threads pulled tighter and tighter across the web. The hard drive sat in a drawer beneath her socks, untouched, glowing like a radioactive secret. She didn't sleep. Her inbox was full of flagged warnings. Her ID had been locked out of the server. Someone had tried to trace her IP. Her rent was overdue. Her bank card had been declined. But she didn't stop. She made calls, quiet ones, dangerous ones. One night, her phone buzzed with a text from a blocked number. "I'm ready." No name, no punctuation, but she knew who it was. The next day, Jimin and Jungkook walked into her apartment together. It was surreal. They didn't wear disguises. They didn't hide. Jungkook dropped the bag on the table. "Let's do it." Minji opened the laptop. The drive clicked. The file opened. "I haven't touched it," she said. "It's all there, the corridor, the hotel, the rehearsal, everything." Jimin sat down slowly. His hand reached out and hovered over the keyboard, then drew back. "I want to narrate it," he said suddenly. Minji blinked. "What?" "I want my voice on top of it. No filters, no voice actor, not some studio editor giving safe sound bites. My words, my truth." Jungkook nodded. "We narrate it together." Minji exhaled. "Then this won't be a leak." Jimin looked at her, something resolute behind his eyes. "It'll be a confession." They recorded for hours, days. The sun came and went, curtains drawn tight. Minji kept them fed, hydrated, protected. The words poured out not just about each other, but about the system. The years of curated smiles. The pressure to remain neutral, desirable, palatable. The trauma of becoming symbols instead of people. Jungkook's voice broke as he recounted the night Jimin nearly quit back in 2019, when a senior executive told him he'd better straighten out his image or be replaced. Jimin sat beside him, silent, jaw clenched, fingers digging into his own arms. Jimin's voice cracked as he told the story of finding a fan-made edit that removed Jungkook from every one of his solo stages. Like he was a disease, he whispered. Like I needed to be fixed. They didn't cry in the footage. They cried in the voiceover. Minji edited like her life depended on it. Every frame was a blade. Every cut was intentional. She layered it with minimal music, just silence, the breath between sentences, and ambient sounds pulled from behind-the-scenes mic packs. The rustle of clothing, the echo of a laugh, the hush before a door opened. When the cut was finished, they sat in silence for a long time. Then Jimin whispered, "Upload it." Minji turned, "Are you sure?" "We've been scared long enough," Jungkook said. "But what if it ruins everything?" she asked. Jimin looked at her with fire in his eyes. "Then let it." That night, the video was uploaded anonymously to a mirror site in Iceland. Minji masked the IP, routed it through 6 countries, encrypted the source. It wasn't linked to any official BTS channel. It didn't need to be. Within 2 hours, the link spread. Within 4, it was trending worldwide. And within 12, the company issued a formal statement denying the footage's legitimacy. But it was too late. Because the truth had a voice now. And that voice was impossible to silence. The world didn't end. It just tilted. The morning after the video dropped, Seoul woke to chaos. The news outlets scrambled, some condemning, others cautiously praising. Twitter was ablaze with disbelief and heartbreak and admiration and fury. The fandom fractured like glass, sharp and loud. Some screamed betrayal, others whispered thank you. But the video remained online. Every time it was taken down, it reappeared, re-uploaded by fans, backed up in clouds, archived in drives, subtitled in every major language. Reaction videos flooded the internet. Edits of the corridor kiss flooded TikTok. Memes clashed with essays. Think pieces clashed with fan cams. But above all the noise, 2 voices kept rising from the footage like a prayer. "I am in love. I never left you." And then silence. Jimin deactivated his social media accounts within 3 days. Not in defeat, not in shame, but in peace. His final post was a black screen with a caption that simply said, "I was never allowed to be real. Thank you for letting me be." Jungkook stayed, just a little longer. Long enough to post a photo, grainy, unfiltered, raw, 2 hands interlaced. One with a silver ring, the other unmistakably his. There was no caption. It didn't need one. Minji lost her job. Of course she did. They called it a breach of ethics, unauthorized access, narrative compromise. But she didn't fight it. She packed her desk, walked out with her camera slung over her shoulder, and didn't look back. A month later, she received an anonymous envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a plain ticket to Barcelona. And a press pass. The attached note, written in messy black ink, simply said, "We start again. Not idols, not products, just music, just us. If you're still willing to film the truth, come." She went. The venue wasn't a stadium. It was an abandoned theater, barely lit, 300 seats at most. No billboards, no sponsors, just whispers through digital underground circles. They're performing, together, for the first time, for real. Jimin took the stage first, barefoot, dressed in loose white cotton, his voice trembling with so much clarity it cut through the darkness like a scream. No choreography, no lights, just truth. Jungkook joined him for the final song. No mics. No autotune. He walked to the center of the stage, looked at Jimin like he was the only person who had ever existed, and said into the dark, "Do you remember that night in Osaka?" The room held its breath. Jimin nodded. Jungkook took his hand again, just like before, and kissed the back of it. This time not in secret, not in shadows, but in front of every eye brave enough to see them as they were. The applause didn't explode. It blossomed. Soft, steady like rain. No longer a scandal. Just love. Just finally, achingly real. And somewhere backstage, Minji kept filming. Because some stories aren't meant to be aired. They're meant to be remembered.